Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it. Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here. It is Tuesday, 8:30 a.m. EST, and the date is the 18th of March. And we're just looking at Bitcoin. We're looking at probably what is going to be a relatively quiet day. And that is, of course, because we have the FOMC tomorrow. But it could get wild today, depending on whether or not the Bank of Japan does anything drastic. Now, I haven't looked to see if they have already done what they're going to do. So I'm going to take a brief look on a different screen here, because apparently the screen I'm on is not reflecting that. Let me see here. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay, so now I'm looking on a different screen here, and I don't see that the Bank of Japan has talked about their new policy rate just yet. So it looks like their monetary policy statement, etc., are still tentative. Now, that could and should happen today, but seeing as those are tentative, right? Seeing as those are not set for a particular time or day, they might not happen until tomorrow. And it's pretty wild when the Bank of Japan decides to do certain things. What do I mean by that? Well, here's the thing. If you look back in August, we saw the Bank of Japan and their rate decision from June and August combined really caused the market to fall. So if I were to back out of this Bitcoin chart, which I don't expect to do a whole lot, I think we might actually see a bit of the lower look here, by the way. If you look, looks like I might have to find a new screen here. Give me a second. The studio is not capturing the screen that I wanted to capture, so give me a moment to fix that as well. Yeah, interesting. What screen is it even looking at? That's weird. Okay, let's fix this. Give me a second. We got to do a little technical stuff here. Sorry about this. I am in my my home studio now, right? So, long story short, I've got to kind of reset a lot of things. Some of you know I was gone in Los Angeles there for quite some time. So I was gone for about 3 months and had some family affairs. And, those affairs are handled. Looks like this should be fixed by now. Let me just take a brief look at the studio window here. Okay, good. Now you should be able to see things. Apologies for that. So you can see here on the forexfactory.com where the Bank of Japan policy rate is now, still unknown. And if we look back at the charts in August, I'm going to back out to the SP 500 because that's just a good general bellwether for most charts. And I'm going to take a look at a higher time frame here. I'm going to take a look at the daily chart. We're going to go back to August of last year, and we're going to see some pretty violent price action right here, where you can see this big move down right there. Now, that's a massive move in the stock market. And of course, if you look at Bitcoin during that time, there was a commensurate move. Bitcoin, of course, following the stock market, in particular, NASDAQ. So when this happened, it was because Japan went ahead and tried to at least partially unwind what's called the carry trade. We're not going to get too far into that conversation today. Just understand that if Japan hikes their rate, especially if they hike it aggressively, this could really, really mess with the stock market. So really at this time, with the Bank of Japan data coming out today and the FOMC, right, the Fed Open Market Committee, which is our, version of that, the main refinancing rate being based on that, with all that data coming out and the rate announcements in the next 2 days, I probably won't be doing much trading outside of scalps. Today is like trading in a minefield. It's like walking through a minefield, because if the Bank of Japan decides to make their decision in the middle of your trade, you're kind of 50-50 going to target or going to stop loss, most likely, especially on a lower time frame trade. So it is a pretty dangerous time to trade anything beyond scalps. And even scalps are still a minefield. So I would be real careful today and tomorrow. You would know all of this had you watched the Sunday night video. Go to algofactory.tech, go to YouTube, and make sure you're subscribed to all that stuff. So I do think, in the absence of some surprise, in the absence of a very strong move based on the Japanese print, I'm expecting Bitcoin right now, just based on what I'm seeing on the charts, it's either going to go sideways or down. And it's a tough kind of a call, because of the way that the algos are. And I know the screen right now looks pretty crazy, but long story short, we have price starting to form a bit of a range, and it's at the bottom of that range, right? So as you can see, the Sunday prediction had price going kind of sideways, kind of bullish, and it may still well do that. But we have a bit of a range that actually started to be established back here in this area, but really starting to look more established right about here. And price may bounce off the bottom of this and then head back up. So we'll see about it. Right now, though, it's getting pulled down just, I think, temporarily. But no matter what happens, I expect a bounce to happen, whether it's at the bottom of this range at about 82,000, or it might catch a little bit of support either down at this 79,000 mark right here, or perhaps this low at the 77 right there. I don't think it's going to jump down to 77 without some kind of catalyst rate decision scenario, something like that. But that is what we're looking at. So that's Bitcoin. Solana going to follow Solana. Obviously, a little bit more volatile. Solana is always going to move, well, not always, but generally going to move a little bit more strongly than Bitcoin and in a similar direction. So that's what we're expecting on that. So if Bitcoin does get a little bit bullish, Solana will follow along. And again, a lot of this, as I said it on Sunday, no matter what the predictions are on the Sunday video, they're just kind of a general idea of what could happen if there are no surprises. Right now, price did take off on Monday for a lot of things, a lot more strongly than expected. So we did see a stronger open. I thought it would be quiet based on all of the news coming out this week. So we did have that going on. Let me see here. It is now, okay, we got a few minutes left. Let's go ahead and take a look at some Forex charts. The EUR/USD doing what I said it would do, more or less, bouncing off of this high right there, headed back down. Now, is it going to continue, or is it going to actually reject here? I think it's going to continue, but it might pull back a little more steeply than what I drew here. This is on the 3-hour chart. This is swing trade timeframes. And these are pretty difficult to trade in the current environment for all the reasons that we just mentioned with all the data just coming out. So what I think we might actually see, as opposed to what I drew on Sunday, might be a pullback down to this area, or even maybe this area, and then a move back up. I would say a more shallow pullback is likely, but that remains to be seen, right? The current environment is just unpredictable. This pullback here is a little stronger than I thought we would see. So for now, I think it's pretty safe to say we'll see a move down to 108.73, and that's probably very scalpable. To look at the lower time frames, I bet you I could look for like a little bit of a pullback here on the euro if I were looking for a trade. That's kind of a long extension, though. I'm either going to look for a bounce right here to catch this. Let me go ahead and make this a little easier for everybody to deal with. Give me 1 second. We're just going to make that a little less intrusive. I'm going to look for a bounce off of this little support right here. And it may not happen, but this is a pretty decent spot for price to kind of bounce. So price might not dig too far into that. But we're going to see if price has the momentum to carry itself deeper than this and into maybe this area right here, right? But if it doesn't, we might see a nice little counter trend right here, or a higher time frame trend trade, depending on how you look at it. But price might start to actually consolidate or not. We're just going to have to see how it behaves at these levels. And again, I think that the best thing for me to do in this environment is to look for either a solid reversal or a solid continuation. Now, of course, when you're trading in this manner, I think it's kind of wise, if you're newer, to either trend trade or trade against the trend, one of the two. I have formulas for both. I could do both simultaneously. I've been doing this for a long time, but you're either going to trade with the trend or against it for most of your new traders, because psychologically, you're kind of messing with yourself if you're trying to do both. So in this particular case, you have such a long extension down on the euro, and it's probably a pretty good opportunity for it to bounce off of this support and head back up. And you might be able to catch yourself a bit of a reversal here if you trade that way. So I would probably let's just say that price does bounce right here and starts to head up, right? Well, then I would be looking at first my Fibonacci tool just to, get an extension. So we're just going to pretend it bounces right at that line. I said extension, I meant retracement. And we might be able to see a bit of a nice little trade right here. And I know the market's going to kind of freak out and not want to trade this. A lot of people are going to not want to buy such a strong candle down, but that's something that you probably could profit on if you get used to doing it. Just back test it and make sure you know what you're doing. We might see a nice little trade right up here to the 382, which is a pretty safe move. And if we do have we'll just use the metrics for it. We could even get an extension, or I should say a retracement up to what is that? $1.926 or so. Is that $1.826? Yeah, $1.926. Now that's a 3-to-1. However, I would consider just managing that trade once it gets to this 382 retracement right there. So just a nice bit of a little freebie. I'm not saying I'm going to take this trade. I would definitely be looking at this and watching it before I took this trade to make sure that my algos did say I could enter that trade, and it needs to head back down there for me to do so. I'd have to make maybe a double bottom on a lower time frame. So just a quick little freebie, entertainment only, blah, 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 not investment advice trade for you all. We're going to hop over here to the Algo Factory Live Lab. Go ahead and make sure I got this properly set up. Again, I was gone. I was gone for 3 months, and I didn't really talk a whole lot about that. But yeah, I was gone for a while, so I had to buy an entire new setup. And that was fun because for a week I was working out the bugs, right? And even though I've got this whole, thing more or less figured out, when I came back, I had to reset up my home office. And of course, there's always going to be bugs. Every time you shut off your computer entirely, there's going to be, little things to work out. So it's just tricky. So either way, though, it looks like we're good to go in the private live lab. So I'm going to jump off here. Please come check us out Tuesday through Friday, 8:30 a.m. EST is when we begin. 10 minutes here, and we go for a full hour over on the private live lab. People have charts they want to see. I do custom charting. The private live lab also has the Guerilla, and he usually is with us here now, and he'll probably join us in the private live lab. And he does massive, massive deals over in gold and crypto around the world. And the Guerilla has intel and has had for many, many years intel better than most anybody I've ever met in my life when it comes to the market. And he shares that intel with Algo Factory. The Guerilla, who just showed up right now, I was just talking you up, bro. How you doing, sir?
Oh, geez, man. I hope you didn't say too much.
No, I never say too much. How are you, sir?
I hope I'm doing good, man. It's another day, brother. It's Tuesday. Markets are where we left it last week, man.
Pretty much, yeah. Yep, there are. And, I was just, and we are still, don't reveal too much of our secret sauce. I'm still on the public live lab. We're about to flip over to private. But I was just saying how you're out there, you're doing the deals. You're actually an operator in the crypto and gold market. So you really know what's going on with the finger on the pulse. You're not really going to get any real operators on YouTube. It's kind of rare.
No, you're gonna get talking heads. You're gonna get guys who are influencers and this, that, and that. I'm not any of that. I work at an institutional level within cryptographic, digital assets, as well as on the precious metal side. So I see what's happening. I'm a person who's done at this point several. I think last year, maybe a year and a half. Yeah, but last year I think we crossed the 2.3 to 2.4 billion in trades. So it's not a joke. So in other words, it's like, yeah, it's we're not out there trying to show coins and give you hopium or tell you. And here's the thing, like working in the industry, you'd think that I'd be so, oh yeah, I'm going to defend everything about it. No, I don't. It's like, if I tell you that the industry is going down the toilet and you need to get the hell out, then I'll tell you straight up,
And not that we give investment advice, but we tell each other that. And then, other people will be like, oh, they're telling each other to get out. Maybe we should think about it.
Maybe we should think about it, So, and I don't sit here and pretend that crypto is going to save the world. Stop the nonsense.
No, going back to
Stop the cap.
2018, you and I have worked with some people who, you know, are definitely crypto heads, and you and I have been a little unpopular amongst those crypto heads at times because we're willing to say, "Hey, the market's probably going to drop right now." We're not
Yeah,
interested
exactly.
we're not interested in trying to pump the market.
Correct.
You know, so we're going to give it to you as real as we know how, and we're not afraid to be like, "Hey, we think it's going to fall," and you know, so what? I mean, that's just what's going to happen. We're about being real, and we're about telling people as quickly as possible what we think is going to happen.
Correct.
So, and that's why we work together. Going back to what 2017, 2018. So,
Yeah.
Either way, Via the Guerilla, can you please move us over to the private live lab?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. Thank you for joining us and listen. Join us in the private lab where we share all the things unfiltered. And with that being said, Cowboy, take it away.
Join us or die.